Alright, let's just cut to the chase, because we all know why we're here.
What, so we can painfully watch you read from a prompter, question your sincerity, and then watch you backpedal as fast as your wee little legs will carry you? Yeah, I'm in.
Your love is rated X. That means you're extra.
For those of you watching who don't know, Alec here decided to make an ill-conceived and poorly researched video where he made a bunch of claims about actual strength coach Jeff Cavaliere and was eviscerated by, well, everyone, including Shredded Sports Science. James Linker over at that channel, who is a sports scientist himself, took umbrage with the easily disprovable comments and decided to make a video about it. This video from Alec is supposed to be his apology for getting it all wrong to Jeff, but he spends most of it complaining about the treatment he got from James. As a result, the subscriptions to Alec's channel took a serious hit, a reversal even, and he had to put this video out. So what we have here is the runner-up to New England's most annoying voice attempting damage control. Alec, what we have here is what we Marines like to call a shit sandwich. First thing is a slice of nice, and then we're gonna layer it with all of the bullshit you were talking about, and then at the end, there's another slice of nice. So stick around. I've got nice things to say about you, legitimately. First things first, that slice of nice. Even those of us who take serious objection to the way that you made that first video have to acknowledge that you are very strong. Not just strong for your size, but very strong in general. It's clear that you have put a ton of work into your body, and I want to congratulate you on the success that you have individually achieved. It's very good. Secondly, as I will comment later, I want to say you apologized. And it doesn't matter why. Ultimately, you apologized, and that is a very hard thing to do. When you're wrong, and it's really important that you admit it. So congratulations on that as well. So with that first slice out of the way, let's go ahead and dig into the content of your rebuttal to the ill-advised video.
But power has a very specific definition, and the only reason I mentioned it at all is because of its importance for overall athleticism.
Well, you didn't challenge his status as an athletic trainer, you challenged his status as a strength coach. And even those of us who are well versed with the definition of power took those comments and reasonably misconstrued them to mean that you were talking about powerlifting. There's more on why we came to that conclusion later in this video.
I'll just start with the title of James's video, which already shows that he's just as biased as I am, just on the other side of the spectrum.
Yes, James is biased. He said so in his video, and it feels like you left that out to make it look like he had some sort of hidden agenda. The fact of the matter is that James is biased because he appreciates and seeks out information from people who are credible sources, who have years of history in education and experience actually training actual athletes. He is biased for the merit of the content that he consumes.
As he claims that I'm attacking Athlete X, which is an emotional response and is just false.
First of all, James is British, so how are we ever going to know that he's emotional or upset? Stiff upper lip and all. No, his rebuttal was very civil, if slightly annoyed. Secondly, not insulting Athlete X, not attacking Athlete X. Really? Your entire video was laced with condescending laughter and insults. How are we not supposed to reasonably construe that what you were doing was attacking and belittling the body of work of a man that it turns out you didn't actually research? I'd say that was a case of the pot calling the kettle black, but you're less of a kitchen implement and more of a tool, like a garden tool. So just keep on digging.
Next up is the bit about progressive overload. And I will readily admit that that was an error on my end. I wasn't searching for specific terms or anything like that when I was sifting through Jeff's channel. And lastly, he never even talks about progressive overload. I searched and I searched and I searched, and I think I found one video where he used the term like one time.
As I said before, I want to give you props for admitting that you were wrong. That's not an easy thing to do. It doesn't matter to me if it was the sudden reversal in your subscriptions that motivated it. At the end of the day, publicly apologizing for being so drastically wrong is a difficult thing to do. That walking chode that you associate with made up lies for years despite the overwhelming evidence that he was full of shit, and in the end still couldn't bring himself to apologize. So, good on you for that.
I never said that Jeff said the one-arm pull-down was a better overall exercise than a chin-up. It's a good idea to swap out chin-ups for one-arm cable pull-downs, suggesting that the pull-down with one arm is gonna hit the core harder than a chin-up. But a chin-up is one of the best core exercises that I know. And this leads to questionable thought processes, like thinking it's perfectly acceptable to replace your chin-ups with a one-arm cable pull-down.
These aren't cherry-picked. These are your words. In fact, they're all of your words. And I think it's fair for us to assume that that's exactly what you were insinuating based off of the content that you made available to us.
But in my experience, a heavy weighted chin-up is one of the best core exercises in existence. Therefore, in my opinion, it's not optimal to make this substitution.
And better for your core? I trust as a athlete/coach with an expertise in general strength training and athleticism that you understand the difference between isometric contractions and eccentric/concentric contractions. They serve different purposes, develop the muscle in a different way, but you knew that. And by your words, that leads me to believe that you were being disingenuous.
So maybe people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, because for someone who loves to accuse other people of not providing context, you sure seem to have that problem yourself.
Okay, hold on to that thought.
It's a mistake to try to invent the world's best program by adding a bit of everything that works.
All I said here was that as a whole, all the continuum points that I mentioned need to be accounted for at some point. You rushed to judgment and assumed what? That I'm saying you need to incorporate all exercises year-round in every session all the time? Because if you actually watch my stuff, you'll see that that's not the case at all.
We can only work with what you say, Alec. So you don't want people to take snippets of your content combined with your words without looking at the rest of your entire body of work to see if it holds true. Yeah, what kind of asshole would do that?
To accuse me of having a limited knowledge in this realm when you're simply analyzing one single sentence that I ever uttered, again out of context, is a bit presumptuous and, frankly, pretty offensive.
Context again, huh? Well, keep holding on to that thought. But let's go ahead and take a quick break to clear up some confusion you seem to be having about assumptions versus conclusions. You see, an assumption is what you make on a subject irregardless of the available information. It may or may not be correct, but by no virtue of the information that was available. Conclusions, on the other hand, take all available information, whether or not it is complete, and make the best decision based on the available information. Assumption was your original video on whether or not Jeff Cavaliere was a strength coach.
Yes, I use a simplified version of the strength-speed continuum to make my points because my channel doesn't have sports science in the name and people don't want me to drone on and on about technical details all day long. That's not why they're watching my stuff. And keeping things simple here is going to cover the majority of bases for the majority of people.
Huh. Well, both of these science nerds have significantly bigger channels than you, and one of them developed it in significantly shorter time. So maybe you might want to. It's called Modeling Success. You should check it out.
You also made the same mistake as your viewers where you pigeonhole my methodologies when it comes to strength training down into the narrow realm of powerlifting.
Alec, you have no verifiable credentials. What little you do list is predominantly powerlifting stats. And while impressive and while you have done well for yourself, that doesn't speak to your ability to train anyone else. People came to a reasonable conclusion about you. If you object, market yourself better or provide context.
And again, if you watched my stuff where I've often gone to great lengths to explain the difference to my subscribers, you would have seen that.
Even if people didn't have quantifiable reasons to think you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, why should anybody pay you the courtesy you failed to pay the individual you made the video about in the first place? You brought this on yourself.
I expect the occasional commenter to get confused about topics like this, but I don't expect a content creator, especially one with an acumen such as yourself, to do so.
Okay, let me see if I follow. You make immediately disprovable claims, fail to do your research, make definitive statements off of that failure to do research, are called out for it in your comment section, and you point to the response that you make in the comment section as to why James should have known better about you and given you more credit for knowledge.
And the fact that you mentioned this in your video at all leads me to believe you were simply being disingenuous, because I think that you know better.
That's a good play, but we've already pointed out the reasons why people came to the conclusions that we did. I understand that you have to attack James's character at this point. You can't lean on the merit of your arguments, so we are reduced to ad hominem attacks. And don't get me wrong, I do realize that I'm attacking your character as well, but that's more like a fun bonus round after tearing apart your bunk-ass arguments.
The context of the exercise is irrelevant here. And if
Okay, so context matters now, but only when we are judging the intent of your actions or the substance of your words. Get the fuck out of here with that nonsense.
Between people, create this tribalism. This wedges to do with traditional compound lifting and these variations and accessories and different ways of training.
By acknowledging that these are two different worlds that coexist in a similar realm with some overlap. But that's like me saying that salt water exists and fresh water exists, and you responding by telling me that I'm trying to create tribalism by pointing out the fact that two distinctly different but fundamentally related and equally necessary things exist.
All right, that's fair. I originally interpreted your words the same way that James did, and we did that because of all of the erroneous and easily disprovable statements that you had made up to the point in the video. If you want people to have faith in you, you have to give them a reason to. You're not automatically due a certain amount of credibility or respect.
My ultimate assertion in my original video was that deep down in his heart, Jeff is biased towards the therapy aspect of the game, as opposed to the strength and power building aspect of it. Did I exaggerate my point a little bit too far? Yes, but
yes, you certainly did. And if that was really the intent of your video, why was it called Athlete X is not a real strength coach and not Jeff Cavalier does things differently than I would? Because you'd get fuck all for views and get no kudo cookies from Blow Magna Man himself.
Now, the conclusion itself may have been flawed and inaccurate because I failed to gather enough information to truly conclude that, but it was an opinion piece.
It was, and all of this may be your opinion, but that doesn't mean it needs to be treated equally with verifiable information. It's Just My Opinion is not a free pass out of trouble when you pass erroneous information off as fact. You did that. If people are seeing the worst in what you had to say, it's because your words and actions led them to that end.
If there's a lesson to be learned here, it's that you shouldn't rush to judgment.
There is. The question is, did you learn it? You were judged for the content of your actions and your words. You want better? Do better.
I subscribe to his channel though, and I'm going to start watching his new videos as he releases them, just out of curiosity.
Good. Proof positive, he can be taught, people. All right, Alec, if you're still with me, thank you for your patience. We've gotten through all the layers of shit. And you know that second slice of ice that I talked about?
That's right, Major. You did.
I lied.
Fuck your feelings.
Ow!